In the last few years, Zyn has completely blown up in popularity, with 13 times more sales now compared to just 5 years ago. But on the other side of that success is a major problem. In America, studies have shown that 23% of high school students are using Zyn on a daily basis, even though you need to be 21 years old to buy them. So what's going on here? How did these tiny little pouches get so addictive, and why are high school students using them so much? In this video, I want to learn as much as I can to find out about Zyn, why it was created, how it grew massively, and how this new product quickly turned into a nightmare. This tiny thing right here is Zyn, a name brand of tobacco-free nicotine pouches. These were initially created to help smokers quit, giving them nicotine without the downsides of tobacco. And you see, over in Europe, products like Zyn are nothing new, and that's where we can learn where they came from. Back in the 1500s, powdered tobacco was invented by a Frenchman in Portugal, and it slowly spread across Europe over the next few centuries, eventually getting so popular in Sweden that the king ordered everyone to grow their own tobacco. As Swedish people were growing and grounding their own tobacco, they realized it was easier to mix it into a paste instead of grounding it into a powder. And instead of swallowing it, they could just keep it in their mouth. This created something called snus, which is the earliest form of an oral nicotine product like Zyn. Now, snus has stayed popular in Europe for centuries, eventually becoming a more commercialized product and serving as an alternative to smoking. But over time, as the dangers of smoking and tobacco became clear, an alternative was needed. So in 2000, 2 engineers at a company called Nicovium saw an opportunity. As more people tried to quit smoking, a product like snus would serve as the perfect alternative. But first, to make the product safer, they would need to remove the tobacco. Over the next 8 years, they perfected their method, creating small pouches with nicotine but no tobacco. This wasn't chewing tobacco, this wasn't snus, it was something entirely new. Tobacco-free nicotine pouches. And they launched this product across Sweden. It was supposed to be better and safer than smoking. And would you know it, as these spread in popularity, smoking rates dropped around the country. But even with that, these products never got much traction outside of Sweden. That is, until a company called Swedish Match saw an opportunity. They'd been making tobacco products like snus for almost 100 years, and they'd seen the success of these new pouches at home. So in 2014, they decided they would create their own version and make it available all around the world. A few months later, Zyn launched in Sweden and America. Initially, it was really only popular with people trying to quit smoking though. That was until 2022, when a huge tobacco giant called Philip Morris took notice. And they bought Swedish Match for $16 billion, taking over ownership of Zyn. This purchase changed the future of Zyn forever, and it was the biggest catalyst on making this product go mainstream. But before we get there, there's another scary trend I need to tell you about. Recently, Ticketmaster was hacked, and the data from over 560 million users was sold on the dark web. And there's a sinister industry that benefits behind the scenes: data brokers. Anytime there's a major data breach, data brokers collect your personal information and put it up for sale, so that advertisers can buy up this info and target you with ads based on your information. And that's where the sponsor of today's video, Aura, comes in. Aura is a digital safety solution, protecting you from the most dangerous online threats. When you sign up, they start off by doing a scan for any compromised data about you, your finances, or your online identity. For me, it detected a password that had been leaked, so I was able to quickly change that and stay safe. From there, Aura alerts you anytime your info is involved in a data breach or is found on the dark web, on top of giving you fraud alerts anytime someone tries to access your credit or bank accounts. But for me, my favorite part is that Aura removes you from all sorts of data broker websites, effectively preventing you from getting spam. If that wasn't enough for you, with Aura, you get transaction monitoring, a VPN, a password manager, parental controls, and identity theft insurance, all for less than the cost of my monthly Netflix subscription. So if you want to protect yourself from data brokers and data breaches, you can do that with Aura and get your first 2 weeks for free using my link down below at aura.com/benfar. Thank you so much to Aura for sponsoring this video and keeping my data safe. Back to the video. Before we can get much deeper, you need to know more about Philip Morris. They've been around since the early days of cigarettes, as the masterminds behind brands like Marlboro and Parliament. Yeah, the Marlboro who used babies, athletes, and celebrities to sell more cigarettes. Naturally, once the dangers of smoking became clear, Philip Morris caught a lot of bad press. For years, smoking had been on the decline, and the downsides of vaping were starting to become clear too, which we explored in a video a few years back. People were looking to quit nicotine, and Philip Morris was losing business, so they saw Zyn as an opportunity to grow their product lines. But there was a big problem. The FDA hadn't approved Zyn as an effective product to quit nicotine addiction, so Philip Morris couldn't promote it as a safer alternative. They needed a new plan, and they found their solution in a unique feature that no other nicotine products had: the lack of smoke. Unlike other tobacco products on the market, Zyn could be used anywhere. Add on to that there was unique flavors and fun packaging, and Philip Morris had a slam dunk. Their marketing was gonna go crazy. Their ads focused on how easy Zyn was to use, and they showed that there was a Zyn flavor out there for everyone. By focusing on how simple and flexible Zyn was, they made it so much more appealing than vaping or smoking. And instead of focusing on the dangers, they decided to highlight that these were supposedly safer because they're tobacco-free. And I'm not even kidding, they introduced a rewards program that allowed buyers to win branded merch by making multiple purchases. Seriously, they did everything they could to get you interested and keep you coming back, to feed that addiction cycle. But what happened next was something that not even Philip Morris could have predicted. As Zyn started to get more popular, influencers and celebrities started endorsing it. From Tucker Carlson to Shane Gillis to Joe Rogan and even the Nelk Boys, Zyn got a cool factor from the people who talked about it. And by going onto TikTok, you can see that it's grown into a culture of its own, with Zynfluencers that have an entire brand built around the product. It's grown into a massive trend with never-ending nicknames. Zinachino, Zimbabwe's, Upper Decker, they got them all. They truly got them all. And fast forward to today, Philip Morris has found themselves in trouble again, getting sued for marketing Zyn to kids. Now, it's clear that Zyn is growing fast, reaching the mainstream faster than any nicotine product ever before. But for us to understand the implications, we need to figure out what the dangers of this product actually are. For years, studies have shown that tobacco and cigarettes are incredibly dangerous. Beyond all the horrible chemicals in cigarettes, tobacco itself is a carcinogen, significantly increasing the risk of cancer. Circling back, nicotine pouches were created to remove the tobacco, theoretically making them safer, right? Well, not so fast. In the US, the FDA did not approve Zyn as nicotine therapy, recommending other products like nicotine gums and patches instead. That's because, even though these pouches are safer than smoking tar and other awful garbage, they're definitely not safe. This angle of safety neglects the fact that nicotine itself comes with a whole host of health issues. Oh, let's not forget, it's also incredibly addictive. Okay, so here's another thing. When I first learned about Zyn, I had heard that it had less nicotine than cigarettes. Even this isn't necessarily true. Looking at the numbers, the average cigarette comes with 10 to 12 milligrams of nicotine in it. Some higher, some lower. Now, Zyn pouches come in two options, 3 milligrams and 6 milligrams. At face value, that's lower. There's less nicotine, right? Until you get the other side of the story. When you smoke a cigarette, you absorb very little of the nicotine in the cigarette itself, averaging about 1.1 to 1.8 milligrams of the total 10 to 12. But on the other hand, with products like snus and Zyn, you absorb a lot more, around 31% of the total nicotine. So if we look at the higher nicotine option of Zyn at 6 milligrams, this would mean you're absorbing around 2 milligrams of nicotine per pouch. Zyn is being promoted as a safer alternative to cigarettes. Meanwhile, it's more dangerous, more addictive, and it has significantly more nicotine in it. And then you gotta look at the flavors. Coffee, wintergreen, citrus. These flavors are creative and appealing, especially to kids. So I need to know, is Zyn increasing nicotine addictions? And if so, who is getting addicted? According to a Times article on Zyn use in teens, it all starts early. 18-year-old Grayson from Kansas mentioned that he first learned about Zyns back when he was 17 from TikTok. He mentioned that influencers would use funny names when talking about Zyn, and throughout the year, Zyn use in his school blew up. And according to the polling that he did for his school newspaper, 23% of the students at his school were using Zyn, attracted to the fact that they were invisible, unlike vaping, and could give big hits of nicotine fast. And the same is true in colleges across America as well. Let's not forget, to buy Zyn in America, you need to be 21 years old. Now, Philip Morris claims that they don't market their products to kids or even to people looking to quit smoking. They said it's not their policy to promote their products on social media, and yet young people are using their products. So what happened here? Well, a lot of people have equated Zyns to the rise of Juul just a few short years ago. They were also sued for similar reasons, targeting young kids, for which they paid out hundreds of millions of dollars back in 2022. But it's important to understand what Juul was actually responsible for. They weren't charged with lying to kids and saying that these were safe. They were charged because of the things they didn't do, like being clear about the nicotine content in their products, or ensuring that they were clear about the dangers for teens, or even making flavors that could interest kids to try them out in the first place. Right now, Philip Morris is in this exact same position. Their negligence has led to a bunch of kids getting addicted to their products. While focusing on how easy they are to consume, how nice the experience is, or how great they might be compared to smoking, they overlooked something very important. These products are incredibly addictive, maybe more than anything else on the market, and they never mentioned it. So kids are finding out about Zyn online. They're seeing the creative and fun flavors that vapes and cigarettes can't have, and they're getting curious. And unfortunately, this is nothing new. Philip Morris has lost tons of lawsuits in the past, paying out billions of dollars in damages. They know what's at stake, and yet they continue to make the same decisions. So that leaves me with one final question. What can we do to stay safe and prevent people from getting addicted? We've seen that nicotine companies will do anything to keep you coming back. From cigarettes to vapes, and even now nicotine pouches, there's always something new on the block. Think about it like this. If they help you to quit, how do they stay in business? So regulators need to start moving faster and protecting kids from being put in harm's way. Back in April, the FDA sent out over 120 warning letters to retailers, giving them 15 days of notice to change their selling practices around Zyn, basically telling them to stop selling this product to kids or they're going to get fined. Senator Chuck Schumer recently called on the FTC and FDA to take a closer look into Zyn's marketing and health effects, meaning we could hopefully see new regulations coming soon. Ultimately, we've already seen the downstream effects of these fines of companies like Juul for vaping practices, which have already led to decreases in teen vaping. And we can only hope that the same effect will happen with Zyn too. But first, we need regulators to take action. We need the FDA to step in, and we need to start protecting people from getting addicted to nicotine before they're even allowed to buy the products. Let me know what you think about Zyn down below, and leave a comment with your thoughts on what we should do to prevent people from getting addicted underage. And once you're done doing that, for a bit of a lighter video, check out this piece that I made about how The Simpsons predicts the future. I'll see you guys very soon.